Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, everybody? Kevin Jackson here. Wish I could tell you it's going to be one of these happy days, but we got sad occurrence with this latest shooting in Florida. KJRadio.com is what you're listening to. 844-551-8255. Sadly, we've watched as the number of school shootings has grown and grown and grown. It's grown more so under Barack Obama than it did under any president. And as I've said many times on this very program, Donald Trump, if he inherited anything, he inherited mass shootings. He inherited a Mexican crime, Latino crime coming over in the way of gangs, MS-13, drug trafficking, and so on and so forth, that has America, particularly in black and brown neighborhoods, the least safest place in the world. Donald Trump has inherited a mess when it comes to people who are violent, who think violently, who want nothing more than to hurt their fellow man, who could not care less about life. Now, it's not all Barack Obama's fault. He just, gave it an injection, but it was already leading up to liberalism. You want to know where the crime is? I'll tell you where it is. In the cities. You could say, well, Kevin, it's because there's a highly concentrated. Look, don't tell me. I understand all the issues around it. I get it. Oh, you put a lot of people in a single place. You make it congested. You give them groupthink. And suddenly they look around themselves and they don't see, John the barber and Susie the hairdresser and Joe Blow the blacksmith and this guy runs the country store and the feed store and all that. They don't see the humanity of it all. They see a mass of people, a population, people that are drones. They just go along the world, moving along the world, doing whatever. And then you get all those people that develop psychosis because they don't know what to do with their lives. They're miserable. The average person living in a city who's not one of the movers and shakers is miserable. And to be honest with you, the movers and shakers are even more miserable. Hand to mouth on a different scale for the most part. Making money, spending it faster than they can make it because the cost of living is dramatically more than anywhere else. I was looking at the cost of living in San Francisco, who's, by the way, in triage. People leaving in droves, $135,000 in the state of California, and you can be below the poverty level. Now you think about that. The average, half the people in the world live on $5 a day, $1,500 a year. And the average San Francisco person, they were looking at the houses. The average home price in San Francisco was 4 times the national average. I mean, what do you do? How do you survive? These are unhappy people, and they create unhappy people. They create the haves and the have-nots. Everybody wants what everybody else has, and they end up deranged. And it's only a matter of time. They tell you, we don't like bullying, anti-bullying. Go to a public school and tell me that they are successful in anti-bullying campaigns. They are successful in nothing. They're not successful in multiculturalism, culturalization, getting kids to get along with one another. Nothing. Nothing that these leftists touch is successful in any way. They aren't educating these kids. They're not teaching them how to think freely. They are putting so many restrictions on them that these kids are nothing but powder kegs. And so what do you have? You get a shooting in Florida. You got a kid, supposedly teenage gunman, open firing in a high school, killing one person, wounding several others. They say he's an 18-year-old. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High, Parkland, Florida. We're not talking about the south side of Chicago. 20 victims, they believe. Could have been far worse. I talk about it all the time. When I was growing up, we had guns in our cars. Multiple guns, rifles. It's crazy. I think about how safe it was because we all had firearms. In the history of this little town where I grew up in, population 5,557, graduating class of, I think the total, the high school, we had a graduating class of 40. It was either 40 or 80. I honestly can't remember. But the entire time I was in that town, the entire time, never a school shooting. Never a school shooting in any town around us. None of them. Little, bunch of kids growing up together. Everybody's got a firearm. Everybody knows one another, knows what their parents do and all that. Did we fight and get into scrapes? Absolutely. Every single one of us had got into some scrape for some reason or another. And that was the way it was. And nobody pulled out a firearm and did anything. Nothing close. But today, with all these supposed things that they tell kids, oh, you're safe, you're going to be safe, and we got a safe space, and a bunch of snowflake generation, and every time you turn around, there's a shooting, and it has nothing to do with the guns. The minute this shooting was announced, it was like clockwork. Somebody pulled out the Alinsky leftist rules of what to say when a shooting occurs, and they put the list up, checklist. It was the gun's fault. They don't blame themselves, and they never have and they never will. That gun didn't wake up in the morning and go, hey, get up. Get up, little dude. Get up, white boy. Yeah, we need to go shoot up a high school. Let's go kill somebody and wound, dozen or so others just because we feel I'm having a bad day. I don't know how he got the gun. I don't even care. Legal or illegal, it was probably illegal. Or it certainly wasn't put up to the standards of how a firearm should be locked up. Whatever way he got it, he shouldn't have had it. Whatever reason that he felt like he needed to do it, I guarantee you that reason was based on leftism. It had nothing to do with what we do, with who we are. We are the most responsible gun owners in the world. But guess what? That's what all these guys are talking about. 2:30 in the afternoon, you got a shooting at a high school, and leftists know exactly why it occurred. They had to bring in SWAT. Long before classes were dismissed, they get a call, an active shooter in Broward County. And you know what it is. And let me tell you something. You can exonerate Obama, do whatever you want. That clown, if he was to take his focus off of the guns and put his focus into the real aspect of what happens in these schools with these miscreants, these thugs that get to come to school and they menace all day long and these schools do nothing, this wouldn't occur. But don't think they're ever going to mention that. Anyway, we're going to cover tweets here in a bit. Next segment, let's pray for the folks in Florida.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful four-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. It's tweet time. Boom, 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 funky town. The reason why I'm saying that is because there's the Twitter follower of mine, and I follow him too, or her. I don't know who it is. They call themselves Funky Town. Their official Twitter thing is at Hot Funky Town. The @ Hot Funky Town, and whoever it is really clever. We use their tweets a lot. Boom, ba-doom. But when I see their Twitter thing, it reminds me of, won't you take me to Funky Town? That was my sixth squirrel, Funky Town. I don't know if you guys even know this. Should I tell these people what's been going on with Kevin Jackson on the Kevin Jackson Show? Should I tell them? My producer's like, you better tell them. Let me tell you two things. One, I've been sick for the better part of a week, fighting off that crazy flu that's got people down. Hey, have you noticed? No, because the show must go on, baby. We do not let anything affect us. And the other thing was, I was working on my house, and something got in my lungs, and it's like making me cough. There's a lady, every time I say this, she sends me a note. Kevin, you better go get that checked out. Black people don't go to the doctor, lady. We just die. We're afraid. We can't afford it. Right now, it's kind of true. I'm so limited in funds because of my movie, bleedingbluemovie.com. I can't even afford. If I look like I'm 15 pounds lighter, it ain't because I'm on a diet. Okay? Yeah, go out there and give some shekels to that movie so I can eat. All right, Funky Town. I want to do some tweets. You up for some tweets? I am. Won't you take me to? And I'm going to start with Funky Town. He says this, and it is so true. God, this is why I love the public. We are clever as heck over here. We at the Black Sphere team, KJ Radio, we're clever. But you people, man, y'all are awesome. So Funky Town said this. Can you imagine the media outcry if Trump had, 1, rigged the primary, 2, gotten exonerated before the FBI started the investigation, 3, paid for Russian propaganda dossier, 4, used that dossier to get a warrant to spy on Hillary Clinton? What would they be saying? Funky Town, you nailed it. Won't you take me to? And here's the thing. All of that, and they still lost. That's what's so funny. Now, if you were to say to the Democrats, what if Trump did all that stuff, but he lost the presidency to Hillary? They go, we take it. They would take it. I bet you they take it. They would end the investigation. They would be so happy Hillary won. That would be the end of it. Or do you think? No, you guys, you disagree, huh? You disagree. Yeah, so one of my producers disagrees. He says, no, Hillary would have put her foot on Trump's, is that what you're trying to tell me? Would have put her foot on his neck and pressed down hard. Maybe. Funky Town had another one. Funky Town, look, 2 in the Twitter area, holy cow, I don't like to use two people's tweet. 2 tweets from the same person. You know what I was trying to say. 2 tweets. Funky Town said this. Carter Page was on the FBI's radar in 2013 because known Russian spies had approached him and were trying to recruit him. Page worked with the FBI to catch the spies. So no, he was not under investigations for spying. He was an informant. Was the FISA court informed of this? See, Funky Town, even though he may have a strange moniker, Hot Funky Town, on Twitter, Funky Town is really impressive. I'd send him a note saying, or her, I'm going to put your stuff on my radio show. Good stuff. Here's one from Joe Posobiec. He said, and just like that, the media decided to give Trump credit for the economy. You know what I'm talking about, right? Come on, people. When the stock market dropped, oh, look at the stock market. Look at Donald Trump. It's stock market now. What are you talking now, Donald Trump? Why aren't you saying something about the stock market now, Donald Trump? These people just attacked this dude. I talked about it the other day. I said, as long as Donald Trump is winning, the economy looks good, they will not say a word. It's mum's the word. They won't clap. Black unemployment at an all-time low. Latino unemployment, all-time low. Women working hard, making lots of money. They're like rabid animals. But the stock market dropped and they were, oh, look at here. See, what about that, Donald Trump? Yeah, your stock market is this, that. One guy, I said this the other day, he said the stock market when Trump took over was 23,459. And we were like, what are you smoking? Idiot. It was 19,000 and change. The day that Donald Trump took office, it was 19,000 and change. So even if it is 25,000, it's way up. What are you talking about? So what? It gave a little bit back from last year. People made 30, 40% on their money. They haven't seen those kind of numbers in ages. People are crazy. These leftists, they are not a member of Funky Town. I'll tell you that. David Clark, you know who that is? Sheriff Clark, at Sheriff Clark, with an E at the end. Just making sure. He says this, ever notice that you hear no prominent Democrat politician in Washington or even at the state level utter the words freedom, liberty, individual, constitution, or rule of law in their speeches or media interviews? It's amazing. He says the president, the real Donald Trump, talks about these every day. Let me tell you something. Listening up out there, Funky Town, Sheriff Clark is on to something, but bigger, Donald Trump is on to something. See, that's subliminal. Inside of our DNA, we have this yearning. And you know what it is? It's from being American. And if you are over the age of 35 years old, it's inside of you like you wouldn't believe. If you're 35 or under, it's been kicked out of you a little bit. But there's still some of that DNA. It rubs off. But if you're 35 years old, or something stirs in you when you hear people talking positively about America. You're like, well, that feels kind of good. They mention liberty, freedom, individualism, constitution, rule of law. And you go, that all kind of, I don't know, it sort of makes sense. I talked the other day about Joy Reid criticizing church, family, police, military, and the national anthem. And she thinks that's a winning strategy. Donald Trump gets up every day and talks about freedom and liberty. And he talks about it being your money. And he puts his money where his mouth is, or your money where his mouth is, because he gives it back to you. He says, take your money. And he spits it out. And you gobble it up like you're in one of those money things with the fan blowing. Just grabbing your money. You can't get it all, but you'll get a lot of it. You get some of it enough, you pin it down with your knees and your elbows, and you go, and then they turn that blower off and you pick up whatever's in your hands and you go, this is mine. And Donald Trump sees that. He understands it. The left are missing this, folks. These people are crazy. Short break, back in a bit.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody. It's funny to watch the left so mad over Trump's budget. Now, I'm mad. It's big. $4.4 trillion. I'm still going through it, trying to figure things out, but I want to read a couple things. But here's what CNN had to say about it. President Donald Trump's budget plan could add more than $7 trillion to the company's debt over the next decade. Now, here's what's funny about that. Barack Obama added $9 trillion to the country's debt over 8 years. And now suddenly these guys have become fiscal hawks. Goes back to say this. Such a plan goes against supposed Republican orthodoxy of trying to eliminate or at least bring down the federal budget debt and deficit. Some Republican members of Congress have voiced their frustration with raising deficits, which could derail Trump's budget proposal. Now, I said earlier in another broadcast, I said, I can see Trump using this in negotiation. 4.4 trillion. They come back. They say, that's too much money, Mr. President. And they get it down to 3.9. What's half a trillion with friends, right? So it settles on 3.9, which is probably 300 billion more than he wanted anyway. And so he looks golden when he doesn't spend it all. And then suddenly we get these decreases and, we get increases in the amount of income going back into the treasury, and we slowly start to pay it off. He looks like a hero. As long as he can keep interest rates down and keep a cap on the Fed, life is good for Donald Trump. So I don't know if that's what his plan is, but I know that the left hates it. No matter what it is, they'd hate it. Barack Obama could have come in with a $5 trillion deficit and not a leftist on the planet would have fought him. But Donald Trump comes in with one, and even on the good news that the tax breaks, and in January, he was able to bring $49 billion, take $49 billion off the debt because they brought in so much revenue based on the tax cuts. So let's see what happens in what the January numbers look like. And if the January numbers look like, wow, we brought in another, $50 billion or $60 billion, say the trend starts to go up outside of April, because that's when the government writes checks for rebates, and that's going to be bigger this year than normal. But if Trump can keep things on even keel and start knocking that deficit down little by little, man, it's going to look pretty good. And then, as I said, a lot of tsunami comes in, all these other things that he's done, continued deregulation. Businesses start to, come into the back to America, spurring new growth, housing starts, etc. Next thing you know, we're feasting again. Could be. But the Democrats aren't even going to talk about that. In fact, they say this: reducing the budget isn't an important issue for most Americans. According to a January Pew Research Center survey, just 48% of Americans said reducing the federal deficit should be a top priority for Trump and Congress to address this year. That ranked 14 of 19 issues tested. Defending the country from a terrorist attack, the top priority for Americans, was listed by 73%. Now, what's interesting about the Defending America piece, and I talked about this in a previous broadcast and multiple times, Donald Trump has set it up to where we'll spend a tenth of what we used to spend on military readiness and fighting terrorism than we ever have. That money that was being spent overseas is all coming back, pushing that off onto our so-called partners, Turkey, Israel, certainly Saudi Arabia, and then letting those contracts come in that he got, because Donald Trump's gone, every time he travels, he brings back fat contracts. So when you look at that aspect of things, you're seeing tons of money. But here's what's good about the money that's being spent. Trump said, give me $1.5 trillion, whatever. I think this is for infrastructure. Think of the number of people that will be put to work on $75,000 to $100,000 jobs with roads, bridges, tunnels, and airports will be astounding. I don't know how much you fly. I fly a ton. I know the worst airports. I get tired of, I want to go. I remember the first trip that I made to Singapore, and I saw that airport and went, this is like going to the mall. This is fun. I don't mind hanging out at the airport. It was a 24-hour airport too. Shopping and magazines and food and all kinds of stuff. And it was very safe. I'm talking about you could leave stuff out and then nobody steals there, because they do very bad things to you. So thinking about what America's airports can look like, being a person that flies often, and hopefully getting rid of some of these airport taxes. I don't know. I'd like to see taxes and toll roads go away, but that's just my personal thing. But that kind of money, you're talking about getting people to work, keeping them busy, So that money is not like it's going into some void, like going to take care of Ray Ray's kids. This is money that's putting people to work, building up pensions, and so on and so forth. So great part of the plan. Now, maybe too much money. I'm not analyzing that. I think the budget is too big, period. Now, I'm going to go on. Indeed, most voters don't think Trump would do a good job concerning the deficit before he was put into office, or didn't think, I should say. Only 17% thought the budget would be in a lot better shape if Trump became president than it was in 2016. According to a June 2016 Pew Research Center study, when you lump in those who thought the deficit would be in at least a little better shape than it was in 2016. The percentage who thought it would be in better shape climbs to a relatively low 41%, lower than the figures for immigration, security, terrorism, and the economy at large. Now look, I don't want to beat you over the head with statistics. It's boring radio. But everything that this person is trying to say is this, in a nutshell. I want you to be mad at Trump. He's breaking his promises to you. He said he was going to lower the debt, lower the deficit. He's going to do all these things. He's not. He's increasing the deficit. He's increasing the debt. Now, I gave you some numbers a while back. The debt clock is 20 trillion, 20.6 trillion. When Trump took office, it was roughly $20 trillion. The fact that he kept it under $1 trillion, I think is pretty impressive. Considering no quantitative easing, he got no help from Obama, who got $787 billion from Bush. Now, I'm not lamenting that we didn't put more money into the economy. Trump was no problem. Just give me the economy, I'll take over. So only seeing $600 billion of growth, now that's a lot, but only seeing that in a time when we were doing 1.3, we were doing double that under Obama, and we were ramping up to do even more. They had estimated $666 billion of additional debt, and they would have revised that upward probably to about $800 billion, but instead it only went up $600 billion, and now it's starting to go down. That's where I wanted to go. But this guy's mad. He's mad that you're not mad. He wants you to be upset. He says, of course, Trump is often mostly concerned about his base. Reducing deficits isn't as important of an issue to his supporters. Either 59% of Republicans or independents who lean Republican rank it as a top priority in Pew's 2018 poll, which puts it at 11th of 19 issues. More of a concern for Republicans than for the general population, but still not close to being a top issue. It was below not other economic topics. For example, strengthening the economy, 78%, improving the job situation, 66%. So let me stop there. So he's telling you they don't care about the deficit. They want a stronger economy and they want better jobs because we're smart. We understand that stronger economy, better jobs will take care of the deficit. It increases the tax base. It's already started to be proven with the December numbers that were reported in January, late January, that we put $49 billion back into the Treasury from our tax receipts. And that's only going to get better. Consumer confidence. The idea of people saying, I can go out on a limb and do a little bit more, not debt-wise, because, I mean, even though there will be some debt, because there's always going to be stupid liberals that want to get themselves in debt. But I'm talking about people that are investing in themselves, investing in companies and things like this. But I come back to this. They want you to be mad. Why? Why is it look, I'm upset that we have a deficit, a budget that's $4.4 trillion. I said that the other day. I'll say it again today. It's too much money to be spending. Now, in the non-discretionary spending, that number is something like 73% of the deficit. So whatever that number we were looking at, 73% of that is something you can't touch. That means Social Security, all those entitlements, all that stuff is untouchable, and it's still going higher. Now, what else can impact this? The dismantling of Obamacare, the all these other things I talked about. The trade policy kicks in. The capitalism kicks in a big way because we're waiting on these plants to be built and all the ancillary businesses and services that will form around that. But people remain optimistic. Salaries are rising. Now, I don't like to brag about the stock market. You've seen it goes up, it comes down. It'll retract a bit, but you watch. The stock market will go back on probably a much easier tear, if you will, and things will look better there. So this is where we are. But what I want to do when we get back in the next segment is show you how bad in every area these guys are upset. They're mad because they say Trump's going to cut this, policy. He's going to cut NPR. I don't give a crap about NPR. I don't need public radio. We got all kinds of radio. We got internet-based radio shows. Do something different, leftists. You don't need our money.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
I do want to tell you, we just got this notice. General Motors in Korea announces the first step in necessary restructuring. They're going to GM Korea Company, announced today that it will cease production and close its Gunsan plant in May of 2018, and they're going to move back to Detroit. You don't hear these things except for the fact that Trump became president. Believe me, you wouldn't be hearing that. So they're moving back from Korea to Detroit. They're moving also, you saw Chrysler moving from Mexico to Michigan. And you have many other companies. They all want to be where the action is. The big tax cuts had a big impact. And Kevin knows that maybe better than anybody, but it had a big impact on that decision. But when you see that General Motors, we have a very bad trade deal with Korea. Very, very bad trade deal. It's a deal that it's incompetent that somebody could have made a deal like that. So we have a horrible trade deal with Korea. But now, even before we do something with that, because we're negotiating the trade deal with Korea, and we'll either negotiate a fair deal or we're going to terminate the deal. But before we do that, already General Motors is coming back into Detroit. That is a really significant statement. Many others to follow from many other countries.
Wow. All I can say is wow. You know, all those people talking about the trade deal, TPP, we got to be part of the Trans-Pacific, partnership. And here's Trump going, no, you don't. And what's the first thing he does? He gets our beef going into China. He gets our coal being sold to China. He gets 183 other products now that can be sold in China. He drops the tariffs. China drops their tariffs 62% on average, from 17.2% down to 7.7%. And he gets North Korea in line. Says, we're not taking your washing machines anymore. We have an unfair trade deal. And what's funny, you hear Trump, he says, hey, we just got this deal from GM, and here's the reason for that. It's my tax plan. And he says it, and people go, that sounds like he's bragging. No, it isn't. It sounds like he's telling you what he did. Because you know what the left will say? He didn't do that. Barack Obama did that. He's preemptively saying, I'll brag about it. If you want to consider what I do routinely as bragging, nice try. Welcome, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It is the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. I love the tax plan. I don't like Trump's budget, but I think that there's a strategy to it. And because it's too big of a number for me, I think we need to be going down in the budget and eventually start looking at these entitlements that's automatically being adjusted every budget year going upwards. And I think we need to start looking at this. So I'm not happy that we haven't been able to do this. But here's what I'll tell you. I'm not happy with that number, I should say, or that we haven't been addressing these entitlements in these issues that I just mentioned, Medicare, Medicaid, et cetera. But here's what I do want you to understand. The more successes like this that Donald Trump has that he touts, think of Michigan. I mean, did it go? I think it went for him this last time, but probably just barely. I want you to think of all those blue-collar people who lost jobs, who are about to become employed again, and they know they didn't have those jobs for 8 years under Obama, and he told them they were never going to get them back. And GM says, you know what? We're out of South Korea. We're coming back to America. And he mentioned somebody else, right? Chrysler or somebody. I don't know who all is, but they're bringing their plant back. And again, coming to Michigan. The heart of it, the crown jewel of automaking for the world. It's like Seattle, Washington, where Boeing is. That is the crown jewel of airplane, of making airplanes outside of Airbus. But I think more people know about Boeing than Airbus. So the point is, he's bringing it back. He's bringing back these crown jewels. There's nobody that can say that he didn't do it. There's nobody that can say it wasn't because of his tax plan. And so people in that area are going to get gainful, meaningful jobs. Now, what do you think the politics of that area is going to be soon? Blue-collar people who watch Donald Trump and the Republicans pass a tax plan that's going to get them jobs. There are people there that they can feel it, the anticipation of what's coming back. You got city council people talking about it. You got people in the street going, what? They're going to be building that plant here? Look, I'm from a little town. I remember when Loadcraft said they were going to be manufacturing in Brady, Texas. It was like, woohoo! And suddenly, everybody wasn't going out to PGS, which was a drive. That's Pennsylvania Glass and Sand. The sand plant is what they call it. You work at the sand plant? That was a good job. Loadcraft came, started making trailers and all kinds of stuff. And that became the big deal. And it was in the city. It was right on the outskirts of the city on Highway 377. And suddenly these guys are that was the job. My uncle ran the little commissary or the little restaurant out there. I worked out there. That was my first actual real job. And my grandmother wouldn't even let my uncle pay me minimum wage. Anyway, let me get back to Trump and his budget. Here's what I'm really interested in talking about, because he promised no cut. They said, this is what this article reads. While Trump promised during his presidential run not to cut Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security, he continues to propose changes to those programs. In addition to seeking major savings in Medicaid for the second year in a row, Trump also wants to find more than $554 billion in Medicare savings. Targets include paying less to some providers, drug makers, and hospitals. And the budget includes proposed savings similar to last year's requested cuts for Social Security's disability insurance program. Programs for poor take a hit. That's what they say. Now, here's the reason why I bring these types of things up. That's him, sort of playing it, looking at how do we address this big elephant in the room at some point. And I'm going to start looking at savings. But they call these safety net programs. Social Security you've paid for, and that money should be set aside and grow on its own and not be part of the Treasury. We need to separate that out. But these other programs have just become beast. And I'm going to tell you something. They're not servicing the people that they should be. There are many old people who go through, they don't have, just because you age doesn't mean you're going to be paying thousands of dollars a month in medical costs. The overwhelming majority of the aged population in America are fairly healthy. They go out okay. They may take high blood pressure, cholesterol, or something like that, but it isn't like these people have become a burden to society. But we act as if without their care, what's going to happen? Okay, so putting it in numbers like this. Maybe when you're in your youth, you have a less than 1% chance of a hospital stay. And it goes up, as you age. Well, by the time you're, say, over 50 years old, from 50 to 80, yeah, you might have a 20% chance of a hospital stay, or an X percent. We're all going to die, so you're going to have something that is going to take you out, okay? No question about it. But it doesn't have to mean that your number is going to burden all the other people down there. Sure, the likelihood of you going to the hospital and having higher medical costs is undoubtedly it's exponentially so as you age. But they act as if all these people are just going to, be a huge burden to the system. Actuaries can look at the number of people over the years and what they're suffering from in the end, and they can easily calculate what we need to be putting in the Medicare and Medicaid. Put another way, these are money pits. And it takes somebody who's got a business perspective to say, you know what, I'll address this. I'm going to address this looking at the numbers and putting this money aside and not fleecing people. And ultimately, because that's the only place we're really going to get that, that hit, because I think that something like 73% of the budget, it's a crazy amount that goes to that stuff. And President's only, when you look at military spending and all these other things we talk about, that's a small fraction of our budget. So until we address that, we're not really going to be able to cut out anything. And the bigger the budget gets, the bigger that piece grows, because it's an automatic part of the budget. That's our problem. But anyway, here's what I love. I love how these guys are looking at Trump's budget. They're really upset about it. And all Trump is going to do is he's going to keep announcing these GMs. He's going to keep announcing these companies coming back. He's going to keep announcing, hey, so-and-so is giving out bonuses, and this has happened. He's going to keep announcing that, hey, we just had a $49.2 billion revenue surplus that came in the month of January because of the December tax cuts. If that news continues, this guy will become bulletproof in terms of what he wants to get accomplished. And the only thing that Americans have to be concerned about is he legit? Does Donald Trump really want to help this country fix its financial, its finances and go into the future with a country that we can all be proud of, that isn't burdening the next generations with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on their back before they're even born? That's essentially where we are. Now, the question is, can we sell it? I'll tell you this. Donald Trump's making selling republicanism a lot easier than it was 2 years ago.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. The Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. So I talked about this stupid Obama portrait earlier in the week, not in the broadcast. And I got to tell you, the post-mortem is coming in on this thing, the autopsy. But before I even get more into that, because look, I covered it pretty well. I thought it was pretty clever stuff that we talked about, but there's more to it now, and I've learned this. But did you see the Michelle Obama one? God, who did they get to paint that? It looked like paint by numbers. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a very good painter, but I think I could have done, a pretty good example of them. In fact, I bet you there would have been more raving over mine because it would have been more abstract. And I would have hid some devils in there and stuff just to make it interesting. Yeah, just the strangest thing. But here's what and by the way, Michelle Obama looked like that chick, Kerry Washington, that plays in Scandal. Can't stand that stupid show. It may be canceled now, but yeah, Scandal. And man, you would hear black women talking about, ooh, girl, in Scandal. And what was funny about the show, I watched it on Netflix once. I watched one episode, and I went, I want to see what Scandal's all about. Because it looked good. Set in D.C. I watched Boss with Kelsey Grammer. I thought that was really good. It was, what's it called? The one with Kevin Spacey. House of Cards. It was House of Cards in the city. Big city politics like Chicago. And Kelsey Grammer did a phenomenal job. So I'll recommend it. If you want to watch a really good series and you miss House of Cards, watch Boss. I think it's called Boss. But anyway, so I watched Scandal. And here's what I got from it, because Tony Gwynn, I believe, plays the president. Kerry Washington's character used to have an affair with the president, and she now becomes a consultant, and she gets rid of people's dirty deeds in Washington. So she's now tied back to the president, who I will tell you reminds me of Bill Clinton. But in the Scandal thing, they hate Republicans, and she works. I mean, you can't. They don't say that outright, but they do. But she works. I believe this guy's a Democrat, and you see all his dirt. And it's funny how they try to twist it. It's typical leftism. Okay, so the Republican guy's Mr. Goody Two Shoes, works with the Tea Party. The president, is a scoundrel. Sleeps around on his wife. And he's terrible president. He's scandals on top of scandals. She's working with these Democrats to cover up their nonsense. But the Republicans are the bad guys because they're holier than thou and they work with the Tea Party. That's kind of what I got from it. So I was like, I ain't watching this. I got about 3/4 of the way and went, okay, I get it. Because I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, the girl in there, that's a long way to tell you. The portrait of Michelle Obama looks more like Kerry, what's-her-face, Washington, I think it is, than it does Michelle Obama. And she looks gray. She looks gray. It's horrible. Where'd they find these painters to do this? But what was more interesting to me, honestly, that I don't care. I don't really give a crap about Barack Obama's portrait. If he wants to be the first metrosexual, fairy gay president and have flowers in the background and ivy that's going to engulf him in 2 years, I don't really care. Take whatever picture you want. He could have done it in Speedos on the beach with Reggie Love, or sitting astride a horse trying to look all presidential or whatever. I don't care how he looks. That's between him and his legacy. But what I did find interesting was how other people described it. And here's what they wrote. I don't remember who wrote it, but it was this. In 2010, the Economist magazine's editors chose to title a review of Bob Woodward's Obama's Wars book, The Loneliness of President Obama. To some of Obama's fans, it seemed a misnomer. Remember, yes, we can, on the campaign trail twice. Obama was the ultimate communicator, seemingly happiest in a crowd. In office, however, he seemed distant by comparison. Indeed, in a widely read 2012 essay for The Atlantic, that, by the way, a leftist rag, the columnist James Fallows popularized Walter Mondale's view of Obama's seemingly unfair reputation as, quote, aloof and diffident. The magazine would later mock this media stereotype of the president under the title, A Brief History of President Obama Not Having Any Friends. Now, I'm going to break there for just a second and tell you, explain it. He doesn't have any. He's got people that like his power. Going into the presidency, I'm just telling you, look, I don't care one way or the other. But here's what I'll tell you. If I got elected president, there would be 500 people on the stage, family, friends, even people who didn't politically agree with me. They would be there to celebrate that I did it. Barack Obama was with Michelle and his daughters and his mother-in-law. He didn't have family. He didn't have friends. No, I mean, everybody alienated. People from his church. I'm just saying, if you're living life, look, I go to church. I've been going to church here 3-4 months or something. I'll tell you, I have people already there that I know in the neighborhood. If I died, I think a couple of them would even show up to my funeral. This clown became president, and there weren't 10 people there that he really knew that knew him on his behalf. Anyway, this thing goes on. It says, elected with the highest number of votes cast for a president, Obama set new records for presidential popularity, but the burden of the office streams any responsible incumbent into a cast of one. Whether assigned as a professorial or elitist, both terms apply to Obama at one time or another. It's lonely at the top. The president we see in Kehinde Wiley's portrait unveiled at the Smithsonian is the lonely president. Superficial within the frame of the image, things seem otherwise. The vibrant foliage behind him is teems with life. The flowers in the background, as Wiley explained, in the unveiling, represent the diverse communities from which Obama draws strength. Lilies of Africa, jasmine of Hawaii, and chrysanthemums of Chicago. No, he's lonely. He's lonely with Michelle. He's lonely with his daughters. He's lonely with his mother-in-law. He's lonely for a family he's never known. He's lonely for an identity that he's falsified. He's lonely. That's what it is. That's what it captured. And it's good that they didn't put him in a presidential library. Let me put it to you this way. Donald Trump, family all around him. Sons, daughter, all the time, tweeting about him. Getting together, pictures all the time together, Mar-a-Lago and elsewhere. That will not be the picture of loneliness when they paint Donald Trump's presidential portrait.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. So I was looking at this story about Rob Porter. And to be honest with you, this is a very low-level story. He was a White House secretary of some sort, not like a press secretary or whatever. I had never heard his name. I doubt many of you even knew who he was. And suddenly he's thrust into the spotlight. And what it boils down to is that people are saying, well, you know, Porter had some sort of domestic abuse. And you know, did he not? I don't know. And even if it were an adjudicated case, to be honest with you, you still don't know. You don't know, is he going through a difficult divorce or, you know, what's going on here? Because we quickly want to blame the guy because we've been taught, blame men. And we know nothing about this case. Now, that to the other point, I don't know whether he's a good guy, a bad guy, or he's somewhere in between. Here's what I will tell you. Most guys, you're somewhere in between. I'm not saying, you know, guys are abusers or whatever, but and for the record, most women, you're somewhere in between. I know women who will hit a guy. I worked with a guy who was a national sales manager for a power supply company that my company represented years ago. My first business that I owned as an adult. And his name was Mike. I won't say his last name, but he would come to town. He's a little guy, and he was a runner, a marathoner. And he would come to town quite often and just hang out. And I'd say, Mike, what you want to do anything later in the No, he goes, Kevin, don't worry about it. I don't need to grab a bite or anything. I'm just going to go back, do my run, and go to the hotel and get a rest. And I was like, okay, cool. So most of our principals would come maybe once a quarter. And we had a good relationship with these guys. So in terms of sales. So there was really nothing for us to, there's no reason for him to come once a month. But quite honestly, guys like him probably come twice a year if we're, at best. But he would come at least once every month, once every couple of months. And so one time he took me up on, maybe we were at lunch because he rarely went to dinner. And we were talking, and I forget, I'd made a joke about, it was something that came up in the news, and I was having a conversation with him, and I said, yeah, well, knowing her, she's probably beating him up or something. And he goes, well, that's what happens to me. And I went, what? Looking at him like you're kidding. He goes, my wife beats me. And I'm going, sure, Mike, yeah, whatever. And he's, no, Kevin, my wife beats me. And he goes, that's why, he goes, in case you haven't wondered, that's why I travel. I travel a lot. And he was dead serious. And it was a shock to me because I've never heard, I'm sure it occurs, right? It's like male rape. Who talks about it? But this guy openly admitted that his wife beats him and he stays away. He doesn't know what, he's a battered husband is what it amounts to. So I would talk to my partner and I said, Mike said his wife beats him. She goes, oh yeah, she's mean, and she knew. My partner knew, not my love partner, my business partner. She knew that was going on. They'd known each other quite some time. And I was shocked by that. So anyway, the point is, you don't know what's going on in people's lives. You don't know which way things are flowing, and so on and so forth. So that being said, I don't know. But here's what I do know. I know the strategy of the left. And so I want you to picture this. You're a CEO of some big corporation and you've got 50,000 employees. That's a lot. Now, Donald Trump now has 1 million plus employees, but you've got 50,000 employees. And somebody in your staff is accused of domestic violence in one form or another. And just so the ladies know, it works both ways. The government wants domestic violence for you too. But right now, the demonization is for men. So there's a domestic violence thing out there at an employee, high level even, middle management, middle to upper management. And you've heard about it. Does it make you a member? Do you become a member of that team? And if you defend your person's work, are you defending their actions? And I could go on. I think you get my point. So here's what I want to tell you. You're watching yet another strategy by the left to figure out how to tag something, how to attach something to Donald Trump that he has nothing to do with. Zero. Now, I want to play a clip so you can hear what I'm talking about. This is being discussed on CNN, and I want you to hear the setup, Jake Tapper, and then he brings in this other lady, and listen to what she says. I didn't get the whole clip, but just enough of it for you to get an understanding of what the plot is here against President Trump.
Tara, the Politico broke the story, and CNN has confirmed it and added some more, which is that Wednesday, after the story broke, the black eye was still out there. Sarah Sanders and the communications staff brought in these 4 reporters with the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, and Axios. They went in there. Rob Porter's there. He gives off the record his basic version of events. How can this be interpreted as anything other than the White House facilitating an opportunity for an alleged domestic abuser to call his ex-wife liars?
That is exactly what happened, and they got caught.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com. 844-551-8255. This story is amazing to me. First of all, here Jake Tapper. Politico broke the story. What story? What story? The other thing that they're selling, and I'm going to get back to this in a second, they're selling you on the idea of Trump's got all this turnover. Look at everybody he's losing. Let me tell you what's happening inside the Trump administration. They are targeting people going back into their past, looking for anything that they've said in interviews, radio shows, that they've written, you name it, and they're targeting these guys. A friend of mine who's a Navy SEAL worked for the Trump administration, and he sent me a note just the other day saying, Kevin, I've resigned without even writing a letter. And it was based on conversations that he had on a blog like on a podcast. And this is a guy who has served with every nationality, every religion, etc. He doesn't care. He's a SEAL. Bud's Class 253, if there's any SEALs out there. And I'll say his name eventually if he wants me to. But the point is, he contacted me saying, Kevin, these guys are telling me I'm racist, I'm homophobic, I'm all these different things. And he's like, what do you think I should do? And I'm going, fight it. Don't dismiss him. But anyway, he got let go by CNN, and they did a hit piece on him. And then the Trump administration had to issue him a letter so that's what's going on. These guys are being targeted. I think this is ridiculous. Anyway, back to this. Black eye still out there. Politico broke the story. Black eye still out there. Then they bring in all these reporters. And what did Sarah Sanders do? Allow Rob Porter, or what is his name, to give his side of the story. And what do these people say? Oh, they're demonizing the women. What do you think you're doing? They're giving one side of the story. Rob Porter is a wife abuser or whatever it is. Then when Sarah Sanders says, okay, I'm going to bring you guys in, you can talk to the other side. What do they say? No, that's wrong to talk to the other side. How could you possibly do that? That's how the left operates. Porter is guilty in their eyes. I don't know his story, but here's what I'll tell you. I'd be willing to listen to it. And I wouldn't just automatically go, oh, well, he's completely innocent. I would weigh the facts by having both sides of the equation. The media is showing you how they operate, number one. And number two, they want to attach this to Donald Trump as if this is his issue. This is one of his staffers' personal issues. And these idiots think they're going to attach it to him.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Never in my life have I looked at the way that the left sort of evaluates people, and has it become more clear. And I'll give you an example. There are people out there who see themselves as fat. Now, if you're a fat conservative, I'm carrying a little extra poundage right now. But if you're a fat conservative, you know what you say to yourself? It's an element of my being that I either accept or I just do something about it. You don't look at it as, I'm a fat I'm a fat person. You're fat shaming me. When you look at me, everything about it, I'm fat. If you're a woman, for example, a female conservative, you go, I'm a female. You know, I happen to have been born with the parts that make me a female. Therefore, I will carry civilization within my uterus at some point if I choose to, God willing. Find the right guy. You don't look at it as, I'm a woman and I'm depressed and everything that happens to me is because I'm a woman and being a woman is a woman. You don't introduce yourself as, hey, I'm a woman, how are you? You don't introduce yourself as, hey, I'm fat, how are you? You don't introduce yourself as, hey, I'm a lesbian, how are you? God forbid you were to be a fat lesbian woman. Well, would she be a woman? But I'm a double lesbian, so you get what I'm saying. And even God forbid you were to be a fat lesbian black woman who happens to be short. Woo, all heck would break loose, right? Hello, I'm a fat lesbian short black woman. Nice to meet you, Kevin. Do you understand how ridiculous it is to be a leftist? It's the cause du jour. You wake up in the morning and go, what ailment do I use to say that society is oppressing me today? I think I'll roll with black. I think I'll roll with woman. I think I'll roll with LGBTQ. I think I'll roll with short. I think I'll roll with ugly. I think I'll roll with stupid. It is so annoying to deal with leftists because I guarantee you cannot have a conversation with them where they're not offended. And let me tell you something, conservatives, before you get all, you are so right, Mr. Kevin Jackson. I spoke to a group of conservatives the other day. I said something like, Barack Obama has the intellect of a baboon. Ooh. And everybody, not everybody, but a bunch of people in the audience, I said, what? I said, oh, you're thinking I'm making a reference to him being black and being a monkey. No, I'm making a reference to him having the intellect of a baboon, which, by the way, I feel like the baboon should be offended. So if you were hooing, I'm guessing you know a baboon who would take offense to that. You get what I'm saying, folks? We don't look at our frailties as the thing we lead with. Look, if I'd had 3 inches longer legs, maybe I would have gone to the Olympics because I was a pretty fast runner. There are many things I could look at. If I were 4 inches taller, I probably would have been a Chippendale. Maybe I would have been the first black Chippendale. They're racist. They rejected me. Oh my God. Anyway, I digress. No, I was never a Chippendale. But I did used to tell people when I worked at a job, whenever there was a new person and we'd take them to lunch, I would tell them that I used to be a male pole dancer. You know, people would go around and say, hey, well, Susan, tell us, what did you used to do before you came to work at Flexible, you know? And, oh, I was the administrative assistant to the president of such and such. And then we'd go around and tell, well, why don't we do? And it was the joke that I would always say. I mean, I was nicely built too, but, and I still am, by the way, but just carrying a little extra weight. Hello, I'm Kevin. I'm fat. Anyway, they would get to me and I would very nonchalantly say that I used to dance as a male. I was a male dancer, you know, at a place. And, invariably the person would go, what? Like you would, first of all, you say it, you admit it. And you did that? Oh my God. And it was like, it was so funny to watch their reaction. I'd go, yeah, you want to see? And I'd start pulling my shirt up like I was going to dance. And the rest of everybody knew the joke. So it was kind of funny. Today, I would get kicked out of the company for saying something like that. So crass. Anyway, why am I talking about this, huh? Because I just enjoy the subject? No, I'm talking about this because I'm sick of this nonsense, folks. So Princeton University's Health Center is going to host a fat positive dinner. That's what I'm leading to. It's for students who are, quote, fat identified. Now, let me explain who could be fat identified. For those of you who haven't gotten there with me already, Karen Carpenter could be fat identified. God rest her soul. That songbird, Karen Carpenter. Love that lady. That lady can sing. But she would fat identify because she's anorexic and something inside of her brain sees her as fat even when she is skin on bone. So she could attend that dinner. Maybe you, like me, are packing a few extra pounds, you know. Maybe you would go to this fat identified dinner. Here's what I would do. If I was fat and you were going to give me a free dinner, I'd go to the fat identified dinner. If I was hungry and I had missed my meal earlier that day, I would go to the fat identified dinner and I'd have fat people going, you ain't fat. Well, I'd go, who are you to tell me I'm not fat? You're being mean to me. Ah! And I'd cry and whatever else, right? Because I'm going to get that dinner. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get that dinner. According to the online description for this event, the dinner will be hosted by Health Promotion and Prevention Services, a division of the school's University Health Services. First of all, this is a university. And we're talking about a university that has University Health Services, and they have a division within there called Health Promotion and Prevention Services. In conjunction with, get this, the Women's Center. Get this. This space is intended for fat identified people to share their experiences as a fat person. You just shamed me. Look, don't make me go. That was a shaming of fat people. Let me read it again. This space is intended for fat identified people to share their experiences as a fat person. Psst, they ain't fooling me. They said, tweet this. This space is intended for fat identified people to to share their experiences as a fat person at Princeton in an accepting and supportive environment. That's what the Women's Center newsletter states. Additionally, participants will discuss fat positive programming ideas for the spring semester. Oh my goodness. With the event description noting that dinner will be served. What better way to attract fat people than the promise of a meal? Ooh, girl, they had ribs, they had chicken, they had, it was a plethora of food. Let me tell you this, I ain't never missing no Princeton fat dinner ever again. That just cracks me up. Dinner will be served. Why don't you just have a big dinner bell and a big old pork? You know how they have a barbecue joint, they always got the pig on the sign. Some form of the pig. Oh man, that is just too funny. I mean, it's they call it's a Princeton dinner for fat people. I get it, but that just cracks me up. Dinner will be served. Like, did we not mention dinner was going to be served? I would love to see the kids going. They had pictures of these very obese people. And see, here's the deal. What's funny about this to me in a strange sort of way is it's unhealthy to be, certainly carrying too much weight. I mean, you get 300-400 pounds, your body's not used. The body's not used to that. The body has a particular frame it wants on you, and it works into that. That's why when these people, you ever seen this 600-pound life? These people, they have to check their heart to see if they're capable of. If they lose let's say you weigh 600 pounds, you lose 200 pounds, you're 400. They can't just start doing this gastric bypass, whatever, to get you down. They have to make sure your heart can handle it, because your heart's been pumping, and it finally gets some relief. And a lot of times people die because of that. But here's the deal. They're encouraging this unhealthy living. Now, look, if you're chubby, I'm chubby right now. Who cares? If you're fat, I don't really give a crap. It's your choice. But understand, you're making a life choice. I'm not going to be, I got fat people in my family like you wouldn't believe. And you know what I hate? I hate that they're probably not going to be around as long as I'd like them to be. I have a cousin. He's approaching 400 pounds. His dad died of a heart attack at the age of 53. And he's 56. So I feel for him. But look, that's his life. We don't ridicule him over it. These people are crazy. I'm just saying, they want you to be healthy. They want all these, we're going to have preventative health and we're going to have Obamacare. But then they go, come eat some fat food, fatty. Back in a bit.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
You want to get your fat content analyzed? I'll tell you how to do it. Next time you get out of the shower, before you put on any clothes, you don't need to pay $75 to anybody. You stand in front of a full-length mirror with a stopwatch, and you go like this. When stuff stops moving, click that watch. I'm down to 2 days, 5 hours, and 6 minutes.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. We're talking about Princeton having a dinner for fat awareness, or what do they call it? Fat. It's not, to me, it's almost fat shaming, but they call it fat positive dinner. To be fat positive. And look, I've said this. I have a friend. His name is Danny. And Danny is married to a girl named Sheila. And Sheila in college was fine as frog's hair. I mean, she's a pretty girl. She marries Danny. It wasn't a year. You could see Sheila was putting on some weight. And so Danny would say, we would kind of tease him like, man, look like Sheila putting on a little weight. She pregnant? Whatever. Well, she was. Turned out she was pregnant. So she had the first baby, and Sheila stayed big. And then they had a second baby, and Sheila got bigger. And so, I mean, people would see Sheila because we remember her from college. You know what I mean? You would be like, what? That's Sheila? It didn't matter. I mean, Danny had loved her. They had babies together. He didn't seem to care. Well, he kind of did, because he would always say, yeah, we about to hit that gym again. I was like, no, you about to be as fat as your wife. But that's okay. But I just remember talking to Sheila. We were having a conversation one day. Everybody's drinking cocktails. She's like, shoot, I tell you what, in college, I was fine. She go, I still see myself as fine. I don't care. I'm carrying weight. I'm fat. I don't care. I'm fat and I'm proud. And I can tell you, because God is my witness, she was not lying. She believed in her heart of hearts, I'm still fine. I ain't doing nothing about it. And it was funny because Danny behind the scenes would be, yeah, man, we about to hit that gym. I'm going, dude, Sheila ain't about to hit that gym. I'm sorry to tell you, she gonna hit a slim gym, you know. Ooh, because she is not going into the GYM. Sorry, bro. I would just look at him and go, okay, well, good. You know, I don't care. Look, handle your scandal. But Sheila did not care. And you know what? I remember saying to myself, that is so cool that she is so healthy in what she's, you know, that she's no longer that girl from college. It's like she said, look, I spent 22 years being fine. Now it's okay to be fat, and I'm going to enjoy it. And she did. And I'm telling you, she didn't miss a meal. She didn't quibble over, can I have another piece of bread? She didn't say, I'll have the salad. She didn't do any of that. She did none of that. Sheila just accepted who she had become, is like a station in life now, and that was it. So Princeton is you know, having this fat positive dinner. They needed to have Sheila there. Look, I remember I was in a keto. Well, so the kiddo that I'm about to talk about, he was a chubby Mexican dude, probably about 5'10", 5'11", and pretty broad. And you look at him and you don't think this kid could fight. This dude was one of the baddest fighters. I mean, for his age, this kid could fight. And he's a chubster. And I remember him as a little boy because I learned Aikido under his uncle, Mr. Bill Sosa. For those of you who don't know who Bill is, Bill's one of the baddest Aikido guys on the planet. He's dead now. Next to Steven Seagal. They were number 1 and number 2. I think Bill might have been the highest ranking Aikido don in America at the time, but he and Steven Seagal were thick as thieves. And so I learned Aikido under Bill Sosa, but his nephew was a chubster. I mean, a big kid. And you never, but here's my point. Nobody, let me tell you, don't tease this kid about him being chubby. That dude was amazing. And I've seen many guys. One of my first Taekwondo instructors had a gut, man. I'm talking about a gut, but kick it and break your foot. Shoot, Mr. Lopez, he break you kick that dude's belly. It's like kicking a cement block. Fat. But again, I don't care. I mean, I always wondered how Lopez moved around like that because he's big. But, man, he could move. He learned how to move that belly. It wasn't a jelly belly, you know, like boom, 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 but it was a solid belly, like he, you know, packed it with bricks. Because I'm telling you, kick that belly and be like, whoa, you have to fight. And he had a son, Joey, man. He kind of a little bit of a timid guy. He was a black belt, but a little timid. He's probably grown into it. Anyway, I'm talking about fat people. So Princeton's having this dinner, and here's what it says. Although Princeton students, they say the University Health Science website emphasizes the importance of exercise and fitness as an important part of a healthy life. Although Princeton students usually have very busy schedules, it is essential that you make time for exercise in order to lead a healthy life. Now, here's what I think is going on. Princeton is luring all the fatties into this fat positive dinner under the guise of it's going to be a fat positive dinner. And of course, you ring the dinner bell and the fat people come a-running because even the skinny people will come a-running. I'd go. I already said earlier, I'd go. I would attend this dinner with pleasure. And I dare you to tell me I'm not fat enough to be in it. I'd be, you fat shaming me. You know, you skinny shaming me. But I would go. But they're doing one of these law enforcement traps where they bring everybody in and say you're going to get this big vacation. Then they arrest them. They're going to bring all these fatties into this dinner. into this dinner, and then they hit him. They hit him with, now, all you fatties out here, y'all are costing Princeton a lot of money on the insurance policy. You better get it together. I bet they got treadmills. They got treadmills on a wall. And Jillian, what's her name? Jillian Sanders or Andrew, or on The Biggest Loser, that chick, the lesbian girl, she's there, and she's like, okay, fatties, now that you're all here, bolt the doors. Wouldn't that be something? And they have to sign non-disclosures. It says you cannot say what went on. Probably have them sign that before you come in. Hey, to attend a dinner, we need to get your signature, and you can choose your meal right here. So they got steak and lobster and, foie gras, all this good stuff. And they're looking at the menu, go, oh, girlfriend, heck yeah, boop, 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 sign here. And then what they signed is, you cannot say what happened to you in here under penalty of, losing your school, your scholarship, your parents' home, second home, whatever. So they lure them in there, and then they say, we're going to talk about a healthy life. What more can you do to fat shame somebody that you call a fat positive dinner and bring them in here and go, well, now, the rigors of Princeton has allowed you to pick up that freshman baby weight. No, you picked up the weight of a truck. And it wasn't because you were studying. It's because you're lazy. It's because your millennial generation thinks you can take a pill and everything's going to be okay. You think you can sit around playing video games all day and you're not going to gain weight. You don't even know what it's like to go out there and hit those streets. Start walking. The most exercise most of these putzes get is going from class to class. That's it. Once they do that, they're home, they're eating, they're doing whatever they do, and let me tell you, that's the problem. So they get them to this thing, and then they say you need to exercise, you need to eat right, and I love how they put this. Sonia Satinsky, Director of Health Promotion and Prevention Services. What is it? Is this a new one? Because I said earlier they got University Health Services, they've got Women's Center. That's part of it. Then they got another group, and then they've got Health Promotion and Prevention. They said the goal of this event is to have a conversation to discuss future programming focused on body size and image. Now, if that's the case, you would think they'd say, okay, look, maybe you're genetically predisposed to be a little bigger. Everybody's not going to be built like Usain Bolt, right? His kids will probably run fast. If he marries a thin woman or a track athlete, he probably won't get any hammer throwers. But, so there are people that are born with a particular body type. That's what they should be explaining. But I really think it's a trap. They said, at this point, we are unsure whether it will be a one-time or a recurring event. It will depend on the student's interest. There's no specific funding allocated for this particular initiative. That's a sign, people. They're going to be coming after your money under the guise of we're helping the fatties, but they're really not helping the fatties. It's a trick. Get out of there, fat people. Run!
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Commented on the South Koreans. They were not quite as swept up in this North Korean pageantry as, say, again, certain corners of American media. Talk about how strange that was for a lot of South Koreans to see that sort of adulation coming from the West.
All right, everybody. Welcome, Kevin Jackson, here to Kevin Jackson Show. I didn't cover a whole lot of this nonsense about North Korean Kim Jong-un's sister, propaganda lady, and, all the fawning of the media. It's become normal, right? Hey, glad you guys are here. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. What's funny is that it shows you how much the left, the level of indoctrination when You come off of a year like Donald Trump, what he's had. He just made an announcement that GM is moving a factory from South Korea, which has become the mecca of manufacturing. They're moving it from there to Detroit. On the heels of information like that, an economy that's booming, these guys are talking about, they're propping up a dictatorship where people starve to death. I just wanted you to put that in perspective. I want you to try to understand the level of hatred that the left has for you as American citizens who fight for freedom, for your very own. You fight to export it to other countries, and so far you've done an amazing job because we've changed the policies of that crazy guy that just left the office, the black dude, and we now have a president who says, you know what? Look at America as what your country could be. Not because we want to compare ourselves and say we're better than you. That's not the whole thing about this so-called nationalism that the left wants to talk about. But look at what they do. They take a dictatorship that starves its people. I dare you to go Google North Korea. Go look at any of the videos of people. I saw a video of a girl. She's starving to death. She's looking for grass to eat. She's a zombie. When I tell you she's a zombie, I mean it in the strictest sense of the word. She's just unintelligible. And somebody had sneaked over in the North Korea and is interviewing her at the risk of peril to themselves, and they're trying to figure out, can they help this girl? Both her parents dead, probably of starvation, starving their population to death. It is an absolute hellhole to live in North Korea, and the media fawns all over the pageantry of what they're doing. He couldn't believe, many people can't believe it. And the South Koreans, let's play the rest of that clip because I want you to hear what the Geist is, a reporter over there, and he's saying they don't get it because they don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure Americans grasp how quickly some of those pieces were circulating here at the Olympics. There were a couple of, major outlets that were writing sort of fluff pieces about Kim Jong-un's sister who'd come here saying she's the new Ivanka Trump, and all these odd comparisons they were making to someone who was the head of propaganda, was under UN sanction for helping to run North Korea's prison program, political prison program, and all the rest of it, applauding the cheerleaders for their formation. And I was talking to South Koreans here, people around the hotel, people driving cars and cabs, and people who own restaurants, and they couldn't believe it. I mean, they said, I can't believe some people where you live are falling for this routine because none of us are. I think on the one hand, they understand there's some level of diplomacy that has to be conducted by South Korea, the president there, Moon, you see. But to see an ally, at least some members of the media praising this woman, this Kim Jong-un's sister, part of the dictatorship there, was completely mind-boggling to a lot of South Koreans. So I simply stated a fact and sent out a tweet. But that's what people were saying on the ground here.
Now, I don't know if Geist caught crap for sending out that tweet. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. But he probably did. Because he's effectively saying the South Koreans are going, are you people crazy in America? Look at the difference between our economy and our brothers and sisters to the north. Look at the freedom that exists here, and they send over a delegation, and you're fawning over this? Do you know what they're doing to our relatives? I mean, our media takes no fault for the crap that they put out there. They export nonsense. Think about it this way. Can you imagine if the world looked upon America and our media said, we have the best president, we have an amazing president. We have an amazing people. We absorb all cultures. We absorb all religions, all types of things, and we make it better. We are the reason that you're going to someday have peaceful Islam. We're the reason that you're going to someday get away from these misogynistic societies and these oligarchies. We're the reason. We're the reason you're going to respect children. You're going to respect people of color. You're going to respect all cultures. America is the reason for that. We're the reason that you're going to get your economies together because you're going to get away from left versus right, and you're going to start a capitalist society. And because of Donald Trump, you probably will look at cleaning up your governments. You think America is the only one that's got the problems with the swamp? The swamp exists in every single nation on this planet. And the only group, the only nation that had the guts to drain its swamp is America. It's the only one. So if the media stood behind this president when he went to the UN and he started calling them out and saying, you need to pay your bills. When he goes to NATO and he says, look, we're all about protection, but you need to pay your bills. When he goes over to the Far East, to the Middle East and talks about terror, he could easily say, America's not exporting terror, folks. We're happy to bring our troops home and let you do what you need to do. The problem is you're not doing it. So, and if the media backed him up and said, look, he's exactly right. If you're going to be a part of our culture and do what we do, you're going to listen to our leader. We elected him. And if they looked at the economy the way it's supposed to be looked at and admitted that Barack Obama stunk on ice and that Donald Trump has done a miraculous turnaround. Let me tell you, if Barack Obama had been a decent president and had any fiscal sense, the stock market would be through 30,000 by now because Trump would have inherited a good economy. He didn't. Admit that. It's not that tough to do, folks. I promise you, lefties. You can do it. You can fight the feeling to just automatically disagree and actually do something positive for yourselves. Anyway, we got a ton to talk about today, folks. We're off track because, let me tell you, these scandals aren't going away. I can't wait to get back onto that after the pageantry of the Olympics is over. Short break, back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville, can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Hi, Kevin. My name's Midget. That's my real nickname. I saw you on Fox a few weeks ago, and I started listening to your podcast, and every show is a big favorite until I hear the next one. The only thing, only disappointment I have is when you don't have a podcast. You're my favorite conservative radio show host, and I pray you become even more popular. P.S. You're also a cutie pie. Thanks. Bye.
Wait, no, don't go, Midget. No. Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. Midget, thank you for the phone call. for a couple of reasons. One, because your name is Midget, and I love that, because the only thing that would make this better, Midget, is if you were Guatemalan, because you know I like to make fun of my Guatemalan midgets, and I got them all over the house. I've adopted many Guatemalan midgets. Now, I love that message because, there's this young lady listening to the show, ran up on it however she did, and now she's in love with Kevin Jackson. Same as me. No, thanks for calling in, Midget. Hey, we had another caller. By the way, this is the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255 if you want to call. And but we had another caller, and he called regarding a segment I did on Hillary, and I want to play his call, and then we'll get it back into the news. So I don't know this gentleman's name, but I definitely like the call. Here it is.
Wow, Kevin, that rendition you just laid out about Hillary, and it's not her fault. There's another angle to that, too, and that is she and the Democratic Party and all her cohorts don't care what the American people want. They're crooks, and they want the presidency, and they will take the presidency through crime and collusion, and it doesn't matter what the people want. It's what they're going to put on the American people. We're not free. They're dictators. They're tyrants. Wow. All right, thanks, Kevin. Have a good one, bud.
First of all, thanks for the call. And I really appreciate you guys responding back. By the way, 844-551-8255 or KJRadio.com. I couldn't figure out what clip he was talking about, but then we found it. And essentially it was me saying this. This was the net of it. No matter how powerful these people get, it's never enough. Hillary Clinton lamented losing, had 50 million reasons for her loss. And when you think about all the orchestration that she did to win, the level of power you had to be able to have achieved in order to orchestrate the win that Hillary Clinton had, and you still are complaining. Ask yourself this: can you ever please a leftist? That's what I was trying to make, the point I was making. Anyway, here's the clip. Let you guys hear it again. Not the whole thing, because it was a long segment, but I'll let you hear the gist of it. So Hillary Clinton, it's ordained. She gets into the battle that she's supposed to just walk right through. She doesn't walk right through it. The DNC then says, we'll step in and we'll grease the skids for you. Then she says, let's handpick who we want. So they handpicked Donald Trump. They handpicked him. As much as Donald Trump was responsible in many ways himself, Hillary Clinton orchestrated. I'm telling you, for people that want to say, Kevin, this is about Trump, the Democrats did their very best, and they orchestrated for Trump to win, and they got exactly what they wanted. When they got what they wanted, they started building the fake Russian narrative. This was when they started questioning what was going to happen. They started building the fake narrative. In the meantime, Hillary Clinton then gets the support and the help of the President of the United States, who then uses the FBI, the FISA courts, the Department of Justice, etc., to intervene. Now, keep in mind, during this period, what's going on with Hillary Clinton? She's embroiled in an investigation around her emails and the lies around the Clinton Foundation and collusion between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation and a host of other things. Uranium One was there, but it wasn't being mentioned. She had her server hidden down in the basement of her home, basement bathroom closet, had hired a separate IT person, and on and on. You remember this investigation, right? They then get the FBI to work with Hillary Clinton to exonerate her. That same FBI then says, we not only need to exonerate her, we need to make sure that Donald Trump never sees the light of day in terms of being a president and who knows what else. So they decide they're going to collude against Donald Trump. And Hillary Clinton says, I take responsibility for every decision I made, but that's not why I lost. All right, everybody, welcome back again. Kevin Jackson here. Think about that. All the orchestration at Hillary Clinton. If you wanted to orchestrate something for yourself, who would you call? Well, let me call my brother. Maybe he'll back up my lie. And then I do have a friend that I went to high school with that I think went to work for the FBI. Maybe he would help. Imagine you've got something you're colluding with that you want to get accomplished, and you want to get all the best people, and you want to put that together. Now, I'm going to give you a little something here. I know Alan West, Star Parker, Justice Clarence Thomas. I'm just naming a few folks that, those are my, high-level black friends, Burgess Owens and others, okay? And then I know Glenn Beck. He's not that big of a deal anymore. I know Sean Hannity. I know Roger Ailes, rest in peace, and many others. And I'm going to tell you something. If I wanted to orchestrate something to, say, take over CNN or go get a spot at CNN, I could call every one of those people, and they would be like, and what are you calling me for, Kevin? What exactly do you want to happen here? I want to replace Don Lemon. Well, Kev, maybe you ought to, get your agent to submit and blah, blah, blah. None of them would be like, okay, well, let's figure out how to run this. Let's orchestrate this. Hillary Clinton got everybody who's anybody to help her. From Debbie Wasserman Schultz to Donna Brazile to every 67 media pundits were helping Hillary Clinton. She had staffers going back for decades. She had the entire Obama administration. She then used the apparatus of the clandestine agencies, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and many others to do things. The media cajoled Trump into, they wanted him, et cetera, et cetera. She got people to suppress news about her competitors, to blow up stuff that she wanted to get rid of them. You could not orchestrate that if I gave you 1,000,000 lifetimes. You couldn't come anywhere close. And she lost and blames everybody else. Now, I'm using her as a metaphor. What I'm telling you is, if you wonder why Barack Obama won't take any problems, take any blame for what he did, you're getting your answer. If you wonder why Schiff won't apologize, Adam Schiff and many others, you're getting your answer. They don't believe they're wrong. You are orchestrating against them under all, you're preventing them from doing what they want to do. Just get out of the way.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
What's up, people? Kevin Jackson here. It's Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. Kathy Griffin wants a comeback. She's plotting her comeback. I read this story. And you're saying, Kevin, what do we care about that dude, Kathy Griffin? Oh, we care about it. You know what we did? I looked at Kathy Griffin and I went, she looks familiar. You know who Kathy Griffin looks like? She looks like a young white Maxine Waters, Mad Max. So we did a thing, separated at birth, put them side by side, looking identically, in the same direction and everything. Go look at it and tell me that Kathy Griffin and Maxine Waters, Mad Max, James Brown are not separated at birth. Absolutely are. It's going to blow your mind. Y'all seen it. Y'all saw it. It's hysterical, isn't it? It is. It's funny. And it's just funny. I saw this picture of Griffin and she had this real sad look on her face. And Maxine Waters always has an evil look on her face. And it was just uncanny. I swear they're the same person. I'm not kidding you. They're the same person. Don't call me a conspiracy theorist, but I believe those two are the same. Anyway, Hollywood Reporter was talking about it. I just ran across the article and I went, what? Because Kathy Griffin, she went on the road, I don't know where, and she came back and says, I have no more work in my schedule. And if you're in the business that I'm in, like I'm a public speaker, I know months in advance that I'm speaking. I don't always know where because I got to check with my publicist, but I know I'm speaking. Like, for example, I will be in Oregon at the Dorchester Convention, and I'm going to give you more details around that, working out some details with the radio station. But I will be there, And it's like March the 2nd. Maybe, I may get there the 1st, but I know I'm at the beginning of March. I'll be there. That's the kind of stuff. I know that. I'm going to be speaking at the Horowitz event later that month. I've got another engagement later that month. I can't remember where. On April the 14th, I'll be in, I believe, Minnesota. I'm speaking at a group of 1,000 college kids. So I know months in advance. I know I have an event in November of this year. No, I'm not going to go laugh at the Democrats and they're crying again after they got their butts kicked. But I'm just saying I have something else going on there, another event. I'll be going to Israel to speak at something. So I got lots of stuff happening. It's busy. It's happening over here, okay? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Kathy Griffin, nada. Jennifer Lawrence said she had no movie prospects. Whatever you're seeing of Jennifer Lawrence now, that's the queue. They're flushing the queue. She had nothing new going on. Somebody finally figured out she's not that talented of an actress. Anyway, Kathy Griffin has no prospects. So now she's like, and she was crying, I've got no prospects. When I come back to America, I've got nothing. And I'm thinking, wow, sorry, Kathy. Welcome to unemployment. Something that people felt under Obama, but you decided you wanted to cut the head off of the man who gave us the best first-year presidency in the modern era. And that's better than Ronald Reagan. And I say that, and it brings a tear to my eye to say that about Ronald Reagan. I love me some Reagan. But Trump's better than Reagan. I'll get over it. Thank you. Thank you for that. All the people out there, Kev, I feel you, bro. I feel you. 8 months after torching her career and friendship with Anderson Cooper via a not-so-funny photograph of the decapitated Donald Trump, the comedian is holed up in her Bel Air mansion, talking to the FBI, trying to figure out what happened, and pondering if a possible return to the spotlight. When you're a woman, you get one F over... no, I'm sorry. This is what her quote is. When you're a woman, you get one F up and it's over. The person goes on to describe. To get to Kathy Griffin's home, you need to pass through a series of gates. The first, an imposing barrier at the entrance to a private community in the secluded Bel Air Canyon, is manned by 3 stone-faced guards who will check your ID and glare suspiciously into your eyes before waving you in. Ooh, what a ghetto that is, right? Okay, I'm starting to get a glimpse of white privilege here. Then you find yourself wheeling around the maze of manicured British-sounding streets, Stonehenge Lane and Cardigan Court, until you arrive at a slightly smaller gate where you press a speaker button in order to gain admittance. Finally, you spot the red-headed comic, all 5'3" and 106 pounds of her, standing at the doorway of an enormous Mediterranean-style mansion that looks like it would be right at home at a Tuscan cliff. Yeah, I'm visualizing this in my brain, going, wow, she's suffering. I can see Kathy's suffering. We must help her. And then here's what she says. Get this. Welcome to my FU house, she announces. I mean, this is what the writer's writing about. Welcome to my FU house. Kathy Griffin, 57, shares the 13,000 square foot residence with her 39-year-old boyfriend, a man who's 19 years her junior, I will add. 18 years, sorry. He's about to have a birthday. Anyway, it's closer to 19. And he's also her tour manager. His name is Randy Bick. And get this. This is what really got me about. I mean, there's a lot of things that got me about the article, that how tough it is for Kathy. See, if I were going through what Kathy's going through, here's what I would do. I would put my mansion on the block. I would say, hey, it's time for me to sell the Bel Air mansion. What can I get for it? And I would downsize. I don't believe Kathy and her 39-year-old paramour need a 13,000 square foot home. They would do fine with a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot home. and putting money aside for a rainy day. That's just me, though. But here's the part I really liked. Says she's got her manager, Randy Bick, and during the day, a small staff of male assistants, quote, "I like the idea of only having male employees," she notes. I feel like church lady right about now. Isn't that special? Really? So this feminist only wants male employees. I wonder why. You know the answer. Let's go back to the mansion. It's got 9 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms. There's an elevator, a 12-car garage, an infinity pool, and jaw-dropping views. A movie theater. There's something here. Her gays are coming by shortly to watch I, Tanya. She called them her gays. Look, I don't care. If she's got affectionate terms for her, the sexuality of her friends, good for her. I wonder if she would say something like, "Hey, my blacks are coming by to watch Snakes on a Plane later. You want to be here for that?" Just curious. Anyway, it goes on. An eclectic decor, including a portrait of Griffin painted by convicted murderer Eric Menendez, a fan who sent it to her from prison. Maybe this is the guy who she was going to get to cut off Trump's head. I don't know. I'm just curious. Says she's more than happy to disclose that the house cost her $10.5 million, which she paid for in cash a year and a half ago. And that Kim Kardashian and Kanye West used to live next door. The splurge, she says, was a gesture of defiance. Look, Hollywood, at what this perpetual outsider and self-described D-lister, a woman who built a thriving comedy career by mercilessly mocking celebrities, has accomplished with nothing but her own mouth and a microphone. Whoa. The double-gated 24-hour security was a nice bonus to the property, but at the time she pretty much took it for granted. And then they start going into how she's going to try to resurrect her career. The reason why I bring this up, folks, is one, do you see the level of distortion? What's funny to me, Kathy Griffin felt like to buy a $10.5 million house, she had something to prove. Now, in her defense, when I bought my first really big home, it was a roughly 5,000 square foot house in a very swanky area of Plano, Texas. And I paid, which was a lot of money at the time, $500,000 for it. I remember going into that house and thinking, wow, this is a home that would make my family proud. But I didn't do it to get back and like, hey, those naysayers that said I could never do it, look at this house. I didn't do it that way. It was more like, wow, look at what I was able to achieve. Something that mostly my grandparents, I would think they'd never understand what I was able to achieve. And thankfully, my grandmother got to see the house, and my grandfather didn't, unfortunately. But anyway, I look at all the things that Kathy Griffin, all the distortions, all the things that don't even make sense, the all-male staff and things like that, and the fact that her career's on the wane, and she doesn't even see that she should be scaling back. She sees it as, and maybe she will make a comeback. I don't know. I don't wish her bad luck, but I just see this as a story of pain.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.
putting an end to identity politics. This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, free-thinking, pro-American, pro-military conservatives. I love you folks. Glad you're with me. Kevin Jackson is who you're listening to. It's Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. Hey, do you eat meat? I'm just curious. Do we have meat eaters out there? You guys, look, I know you eat meat. You got a plate of meat on your table right there. So, but I know, come on, audience, I know who you are. I know you. We know each other. You're a bunch of meat eaters. You're a bunch of carnivores. Good for you. Yeah, that's the way it was. That was the way it was meant to be. It's like asking a lion, "Hey, lion, are you a meat eater?" Of course, he's a meat eater. Bear, are you a meat eater? No, I'm an omnivore, but I will eat some meat. Oh yeah, you know. Anyway, I saw this story. It was campus reform. You know, the guys that go out on college campuses and give us the report on how the millennials are doing. The youths. Pennsylvania State University sociology professor recently argued that eating meat perpetuates hegemonic masculinity and gender hegemony. And I always wonder, why do these leftists want to use such big words? They want us to think that they are so important. Why couldn't you just say authority, power, command, leadership, hegemony? Yeah, most of you don't feel bad if you didn't know what hegemony meant. Believe me, 99.9% of the country doesn't know what the word is. Eating meat is masculine authority. Now, that's something everybody would have understood, but they want you to have to go look up hegemony. Okay, so eating meat is masculine authority, according to this professor. In the most recent issue of the Journal of Feminist Geography, okay, as if I needed to know that even existed, Professor Ann D'Alessio Parson argued that hegemonic masculinity implies an imperative to eat meat. So, you know, this authoritative man figure means you got to eat meat. And she says that helps reify other powerful hierarchies as well. Do you need a translator? You know, why do they do this? Academia wants to see that's the ruse of academia. You see something like perpetuates hegemonic masculinity and you're like, oh my God, they are so smart. Look at them. And you don't even think about, they're saying eating meat is a sign of masculine authority, like a men having power over you. Eating meat. What, as opposed to eating vegetables? But that's what they say. To study the link between masculinity and meat, D'Alessio Parson interviewed 23 vegetarians who live, what's it say here? Who live in Argentina, and probed how they deal with the country's, quote, meat-centric culture, finding that being vegetarian itself is a political act. Vegetarians also contribute to the destabilization, they say, of the gender binary. So if you are a vegetarian, you are destabilizing the gender binary, meaning male, female, because you're siding with feminists, leftists, and therefore you're doing your part to save the planet. And here's what she goes on to say. The decision to become vegetarian does not itself destabilize gender, but the subsequent social interactions between vegetarians and meat eaters demand gender enactment or resistance. I don't even know what that means, but I guess what she's saying is when we meet with meat eaters, we get to go, you eat meat, you meanies, because I don't get this. Refusing meat, she goes on to say, therefore presents opportunities in each social interaction for the binary to be called into question. We pay for this crap. I wanted to stop and let you know we fund this kind of nonsense in academia. This woman is studying the idea that eating meat means you're trying to be dominant over women. Look, let me tell you this. When I eat meat, I ain't even thinking about women. For the most part, I'm just like going, this is a delicious piece of steak right here. I'm not going, thank the Lord I can assert my dominance over the women. I just go, dude, this is one of the best steaks I've ever eaten. Whoa. And I'm sure you think the same thing. Have you ever thought about your hegemony as you were biting into, I don't know, a pork chop or a good old bacon wrapped shrimp? Are you kidding me? I ain't even think about them broads. Oh, I said it. This is so crazy. We should be studying this. You know, we should be revolting against this Delesio Parson chick and saying, why are you wasting our tax dollars studying this nonsense and teaching this nonsense? Delesio explained that her interest in this issue arose after spending 5 years as a vegetarian in Argentina. Now, I'm going to stop there and just tell you, that's how all their interests arise. Hey, I tried it for 5 years, and so this is what I was thinking as I was doing it. And I decided I would get somebody to fund my nonsense. So I got into academia. I asked for a grant and somebody gave it to me. So now I'm studying this nonsense and I have to rationalize it because they're not going to give me money next year if I don't. That's the rules of education. She spent 5 years in Argentina, decided to go vegetarian. And what was she there to do? She was an English teacher. Oh, yeah. No, she wasn't studying gastronomy. She wasn't studying cuisine. She wasn't going to cooking school. She was there to teach English. And got a sideline. Went there to eat English. Met Raul, the Argentinian cowboy, who says, you should try life as a vegetarian. And she decided to do it because she wanted to please Raul. Next thing you know, she's decided she's going to work on destabilizing the gender binary and the hegemony of meat in its authoritative nature. Can I make it up? She says she realized that vegetarianism isn't just a lifestyle choice, but a feminist act. Women, one of the ways they push back against patriarchy, they say, this is my body. You don't get to tell me what comes in and out. Vegetarian is a way women can assert their, this is a quote, agency and autonomy. That's right. Who knew? Who knew how powerful you could be, women, by just asserting yourself through your food choice? She says this. She noticed characteristics unique to male vegetarians, asserting that though many men in Argentina, quote, still have this very hegemonic masculinity traits, male vegetarians seem more egalitarian and respectful and more open about talking about how sexism exists. In other words, those are your eunuchs. You show me a vegetarian dude, and I'm going to show you a eunuch. A dude who does not want to argue with it. Look, I'm going to tell you something. I have nothing but respect for women, but don't try to bring me your problems and act as if your problems are in some sort of a vacuum. I've already had this discussion with you, my radio audience at the Kevin Jackson Radio Show. I'm all about the females. I understand you have a different set of plumbing. You've got fallopian tubes and uteruses and things like that. I get it. But you know what? We got stuff y'all don't have. We men do. We have our issues, and you don't see us walking around complaining. I'm sure, I know for a fact, there's penis cancer. I don't think there's ever been a woman in the history of man, did you hear that? Did you check that out? That has had penis cancer. Now, we hear about ovarian cancer a lot. Yeah. And I don't know whether you get how often penis cancer occurs, because it's probably not talked about, because we dudes don't go around going, yeah, you know, that penis cancer outbreak it's pretty bad. We don't say it. We just deal with it. You got testicular cancer outside of old boy that rode the bike, Lance, what's his face? We don't really talk about it. We just go, whatever. Prostate cancer comes up. They talk about prostate cancer. Get your screening, get it done. But you talk about breast cancer. There's breast cancer awareness, and they got people running and all kinds of stuff. Prostate cancer, man, ain't a dude going to get on a bike, going to run, going to swim for you. Nothing is. Oh, sorry, old boy. Deal with it. We laugh it off. What are you talking about? Don't be talking to me about your problems as if we don't have our set of problems. And you know what? We don't think, well, prostate cancer, from what I hear, happens pretty much very often with men at a certain age. Over 50, get your prostate checked. And then even when you get a certain number of people, you're going to get it. But we ain't walking around messaging all mad. We just go, okay, well, let me go get checked. I got it. Okay, let me get under the knife, whatever. I hear it even causes erectile dysfunction. Perhaps. You don't see us complaining. Somebody just went out and made a pill or got a pump and went, all right, deal with it, dude. Yeah, eating meat. People are crazy, man. I'm sick of this stuff.
He won't stop until he's the top-rated radio talk show host in America.
What kind of weird competitive freak are you?
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.